We're back. We ain't stopping here. We're finishing this today. Would it please let us resume proceedings? Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. I took like a 20-minute thirst break so I don't die. Presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination? Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Governor, I did. Mr. Skulking. Oh, blimey. This is going to be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony regarding your actions after you entered Windybanks. Well, it was bedlam soon as it was, weren't it? It was nice, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes off me Lucy lockets. However, that was a lie. You brothers. God blimey! On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing to sort. How'd you figure that out? Oh, ho, 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 you've been caught. You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question. And this time, you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought worth pondering, perhaps? Say no more, God, we hear you. We'll squeak, we'll reach. Boom, boom. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when you earned the gunshot, see, made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. Mommy didn't give me a fright, and we was thinking the shooter came out of the door and get us next. We stuck everything back when we found it and scarpered straight into him in the black. Oh, straight into him in the black. We couldn't shut the pawnbrokers, see, we couldn't even have a chance, did we? Interesting. So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windybake's countertop on the night in question? No, ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nish, we don't. Can't I make him sound like a bit more cutthroat? Can't just be a coincidence that these men showed up at the Windybanks that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. And I find grovel in my voice. Cross-examination. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. Hold it! Wait a second, were you really, though? If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, yeah, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we made it something like that, people would think we was up to no good. Well done, Ringo, me old China. We only let ourselves in even more trouble. In fact, now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done, landing yourself in even more trouble. Yeah, well, guess you're right in luck. This is the rotten apple eater. Witnesses, witnesses. Explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing. That's right, Nash, right? Well, like we tidied the place up. His Van's like, yo, sorry. Bum bum bum. It was when we heard the gunshot. See, we made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much and you knocked all those things off the counter? Well, it shocked me. It shocked one of us. It shocked one of us that much, yeah? This bag of nerds need to learn to keep its shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright? Blame me. Me dead granny would have woken up at that bang. Big bruv, we screamed like a blooming baby and fell off the counter. Wait, Big bruv? He's the older brother? Wow, he is. Knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That's got us tingled in some marionette. When knocked over the picture frame, we knocked on them on the scales on the floor. What? They got tangled in some marionette. What knocked over a picture frame? What knocked them scales on the floor? Okay. You really mastered working quietly then. What a racket, and Granny would have been scared back into a grave at a clatter like that. So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some. I mean, it was quiet as a mouse, and then all of a sudden, BAM! Gregson, do you have something to say about that, bro? Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. That's not what we asked. No, something's to add about their testimony. You seem to react just now to what Mr. Skulking said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother me to mention it. Only, well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about just tell me what's on your mind? As you know, we brought these fellows into the yard for questioning last night, and then the statement they gave them told a slightly different story. It's what they're saying now. Oh, you've been caught. Yeah, I did it. You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have had Gov, might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still, it's pretty big. Can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony, eh, fellas? If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy. You get right at this time. That's it, yeah, we're coming back now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details you have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Right you are, Gov. Give me that gun.
Hold it!
Give me that gun. So in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously. We did, Gov, we did. Although, I suppose if you're being honest, I heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun. Thank you. Kind of thing. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun. But Ringo said it both. Does that mean it came from the shooter that gave me the gun part? Because I would expect it to be like Regina, quote unquote. If you don't want to get shot, and then it would have been Windy Bank saying, "Give me that gun." But why didn't Nash say that then? That might be a tiny little detail, kind of thing. Career in acting tragically missed. Yeah, they were pretty good at that. And where the voice is coming from? Could you tell? Of course we could. From the other side of that door behind the counter it was. From the storeroom where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windybank? Oh, my granny's life, of course it was. On his granny's life, of course it was. So, that would mean that you both knew Mr. Winniebank and the sound of his voice. Eh, what would that mean? So that would mean what? What, Nash? What? Any ideas? Yes, counsel, indeed it would. No, we didn't know the geezer. Yeah, well, am I supposed to deny it when the bloke and all the fancy goblins giving us the evil eye? Van Zykes, could you please stop intimidating the witnesses? If you value your lives, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. Have you learned, Van Zykes, that, like... I think he's just mad. I think he knows that we're right, but, like, he's just mad about it. Yeah, all my granny's life it is. Oh, on his granny's life it must be. You guys are brothers. You should... It's the same granny. It's a good job his granny's dead. Oh... To surmise, then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them over the shop floor. You make it sound like we're clumsy. Don't forget, we tied it up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it. They look like raccoons, like with the shade on their eyes. I guess that's like the joke. Skulking, obviously, they skulking around. That's the fucking thief boys. Hey, you're missing a button. Are we missing anything a button related? You know what? I need to... Okay, I'm just rereading this. Fantasies? Yeah. Hold it! Wait a second. You're saying that Mr. Winniebank had a gun in his hands? Oh yeah, but that was the sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at... Wait. Bet that was the sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other must have been pretty heated. I mean, just before shouting out, we heard the geezer say, if you don't want to get shot... Didn't really sound like you meant it, mind. More of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Winniebank was known to keep a revolver in his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone being himself, of course. Good grief, extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided. Well, it certainly sounded like it was ready to pull the trigger on the other night. Only the person was gonna beat him to it. Cooked in grasshopper. There were two guns? This is new. This is very important evidence. Because, did he have a gun in his hand? No. Where did his gun go? I wish you squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, give me that gun. It was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot. It was more or less the same at the time, Gov. Give me that gun! Bam! Kind of thing. Yeah, career in acting was very tragically missed. Then we heard the sound of someone getting hit in the deck. Before everything went dead quiet. After that, we dumb up a slam dash dump, tidying the place up. There were... Why did no one mention this? There was two guns. Am I stupid? Did they bring this up before? Give me a fight. I'm thinking of shooting... Yeah. Okay. You thought the shooter would come out and try to kill you. So you didn't try to open the door to the storeroom then, eh? No, on your life. It went deadly quiet after that, it did. Put the wind right up me. Anyway, the door was locked, weren't it? No way the window was open. Yes, of course, it was locked from the inside, so we've been led to believe. It was, Gov, it was, from the inside. Right, so we had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of the inside of the storeroom. Like through the keyhole or a spy hole, perhaps. Don't ring no bells, no light, no fights. No light, no lights. We gotta cut in a run before we notice anything like that. And we still count our teeth in this game, see? But one day, we really cut the mustard. Please, cut it out, please. But as we know, behind the door was the victim's lifeless body with the accused not 2 feet away. Yeah, unfortunately. Gina was in there unconscious with a gun in her hand. To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot inside the storeroom? That's right, Gov, that's right. Cut about it even if you wanted to. Stuck everything back when we found it and Scarpered straight into him in the black. Yes, yes, swear about you fired upon one of you where? Oh, yes. Hold on. Yes, where about you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Yeah, we was a bit hasty there. Yeah, we was, Nance, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when your lot turned up. If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand. Yeah, good advice, miss, good advice. Truth be told, mine went totally blank. Before your mind goes blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Yeah, mental no made, miss. To that, we liked it down the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers this summer. We then showed they clapped the derbies on us like we were like us winking. And after you've been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah. But listen, the proof's done, the proof's done, eh? We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we? That's what you want me to believe. And why would you believe that? And why should we believe that? What? Because it's true, isn't it? Dun 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 dun. Bum 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 bum. This place was totally empty when we went in. And at that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, those two witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windybank. Correct. You've got it, mister. Down to a T. So the Skulking brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windybank. Is that really true, I wonder? That's it? That's the full extent of their testimony. What is it, Runa? You look very fierce. I can pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. But being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh. I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something. Something important. It's not important more than a feeling, though. It's no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry? People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in your brain, will be quietly and analyze it to come up with a feeling like you described. And you concluded that there's something suspicious about the testimony without knowing why. That's all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. Alright. Anything in our inventory? Unknown, more than likely Herlock. It's gonna be like the big break. This isn't gonna be Herlock's blood or something. The Hound of the Baskervilles. That's right, I used Daddy's notes to write it. I think it's a great story. I don't know why Hurley's forbidden me to publish it. No, it's strange, isn't it? Perhaps it's a problem with the title? Perhaps Mr. Sholmes is a family-friendly sort of someone who has that name or something? Well, it doesn't have quite the same ring to it, but I could change it to the Hound of the Naruhodos. Fairly sure that Mr. Sholmes is a friend of someone with that name too. Okay, just wanted to check that. Okay. What is this? There's a sensational story lower down the front page as well. Look. Ministry mole. Classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. For a 10-year-old, Iris certainly has her finger on the pulse of world news. About secret communications between Great Britain and its allies. Apparently they're being intercepted by hostile nations. Communications are being intercepted, but how would someone be doing that? That's the question, isn't it? I've come up with 3 possible methods so far. Are you looking for a new career, Runo? No, of course not. I wonder. Perhaps this is what Lord Strongheart was talking about yesterday. Yes, it could be, and it could explain why he has Gregsy running from pillar to post at the time. Oh, ooh, that's gonna come in handy later. Good thing I checked that. Let's just reread this part. Pawnbroker perishes in pick purse plunder. How awful for Gina, I mean. But tomorrow's headline will be Discharged Diver and Dauntless Do-Gooder, right? Yes, something like that. If possible, I'd like to go even bigger. Bigger? How? Proud pickpocket protects planet post-trial. Perhaps? Protects planet? Ooh, I can't wait for tomorrow now. I'm gonna be so great.
Objection!
Oh no. There's clearly something odd about this last statement made by the witness. There's clearly something odd here indeed. Your behavior, counsel. Oh, please, don't mind me. Please. Should be significantly easier if you lower your hand. I'm gonna lower my hand until I prove my client's innocence. So I'm just quite quick. Blow cool into place was holding a gun. He was holding a gun, but there was no gun.
Objection!
Of course. Yeah, okay, of course. I should have... It said that Gina was holding it, and they were saying that was the same gun. That's what I was confused about. So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windybank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You got the picture. Yeah, yes, no questions. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windybank had not holding a firearm of any description. What? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection!
Bum, bum, bum. There can be no question that the victim revolver was used in this incident. Bum, 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 bum. I would remind the court that Mr. Windybank's gun was found at the scene. Yeah, but she had it. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hands. That's not what we're talking about, Van Zykes. Yeah, the mold told her to use the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Bang! Kind of thing.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are, right there. Bum, 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 bum. If the crime had taken place as you so colorfully, with a U, by the way, described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Good gracious, are you good? Are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness portrayal of the detectives? Oh, in the autopsy.
Take that!
It was in the back, it was not in the front. According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously. Boom, 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 boom. So simultaneously, or we were led to believe. Boom, 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 boom. Yes, that's right. Now, if the testimony is true, It would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulking. But is the God's honest truth? It is, Nash, it is. When you were shot that night, the shopkeeper had a gun in his hand, and we saw them with our own believing eyes. Did I hear that just now? You actually saw Mr. Windybank holding a gun. Ew. Oh, something like that might have slipped out. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just heard the admission by these two witnesses. But on the night in question, they actually saw with their own eyes the victim wielding a gun, which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Oh, Nash, yeah. Order. Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, they weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I would make quite clear that the false witnesses would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Yeah, well, ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we... Cut it out, Nash, cut it out. If we blab now, we don't know what they'll do to us. What are they talking about? Let me make your position perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Come on, bruv, the game's up. But ever my gov gunners. But we have a gov forgotten regardless. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. Yeah, On the night in question, it's apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Oh, well... Do we have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourself fully aware that this very last chance is to tell the truth. Encounters with the victim. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and he leave the sign of relief when the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then they flew at us like was possessed. I thought we had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. He pulled me gun on him, and then laid there for the door in the back room. We never had nothing to do with no killing. That's all that happened, I swear. So you're now telling us the moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Well, yeah. Sorry. Well, we'll find ourselves in an interesting junction. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moron we've been waiting for. Okay, this is very important. Not only did their facts incredibly change, counter with the victim. Okay, first, hit the save. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and had a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. When you say... Wait, so this means... When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop. So we just got inside the gaff and and had a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. You said geezer, presuming you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windybank. Oh, well, sorry, I mean, that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. We never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbroker's storeroom? Yeah, that's where they popped up from. The only place it could have been. So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Jeannie must have been in there at that point as well. It doesn't make sense, does it? Boom, 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 boom. If Gino had thrown Mr. Windybank to the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? Well, you merely Tula, can't tell you. No way, Kaba, we had a bigger fish to fry then. Sorry, I might have misread that. Which means he must have been in at the time as well. That doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had thrown Mr. Windybank into the storm with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? I mean, the old geezer just lost it. During that gun he bellowed and then flew at us like a whiz position. I thought we ate it. You mentioned that Mr. Windybank shouted those words in your previous testimony, too. However, you claimed that they're heard from yelling on the other side of the storeroom door. Yeah, well, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Yeah, well, yeah. Was the victim Mr. Windybanks wielding a gun at the time? It was ever blaming Lumi, a great ugly barrel he had pointed straight at me frontispiece. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windybank with the gun at the time, is that right? Yes, Gov, it is. Spot on. Then all of a sudden, we came at us like we did. It was Bedlam, I didn't know who was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we'd ate it. I mean... For when those geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. That's hilarious. Yes, and noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony, too. You said you had knocked it over by the fright, but it seems you were thrown. Well, yeah, of course we did. And then you knocked him over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. And we actually have proof that's true. He got tangled in some marionette. We knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. You already said this. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things out of the off the counter. Yeah, well, Big Bravier went flying over the counter like a gunshot, I can tell you. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a blooming pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There's a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. But was it, though? That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back into the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windybank, he did everything he could to protect his shop. Pulled me gun on him, then I legged it from the front door into the back room. Excuse me.
Hold it!
Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windybank? No, never. I was just, you know, looking out for me bro, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burglared, yes. Bum, bum. And then the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed his gun at him. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off through the door as he shut himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. The man, okay, by a man whose shop was being burglared, yes. Okay, so Winnie Big attacks him, Nash pulls him off. The man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him. Okay, so Nash pulls the gun. He shoved me away, then ran off through the door and shut himself in. Then where did Regina go, and how did she get there? I wonder why Mr. Winniebank ran away into the storeroom. What? Yeah, there would have been Regina with a gun. Gina, my bad. Well, according to what everyone's saying, Gina was in there waiting for him, with a gun. Ah, yeah, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Winniebank's gun to threaten him and force him open the room door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Winniebank's hand again? Dun 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 dun. No idea, but that's strange, isn't it? So inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and my brother. That's right, Nash. That's right, me and bruv. Yeah. That had nothing to do with killing him. That's all that would appear, I swear. Oh. He pulled me a gun on him and then legged it from the front door into the back. Okay, that's really interesting. Nothing to do with killing again. Well, always press everything first. You're saying he had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. No, he just shot himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was from the inside. We know it was because we tried to open it. You what? But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. No? This is really important. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. Yeah, I don't know. Indeed, it would appear indeed so. Let's say you do that, counsel. I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could have possibly shot Mr. Winniebank? They're gonna ask me who else. Hit that save point? They're gonna ask me who else, but I really have no idea. I'm saving there's no one else. He's right, Gina's the only one. There was no one else in that room. With an attitude like that, Runo, it really would be all over. Now a 10-year-old is reading the expression on my face. Well, you just don't have that many. Wide-eyed, sweating, smug, and happy. That's about it. Sure there's more than that, isn't there? Anyway, I think you might want to consider some other possibilities here. Or rather, I think you have to. Otherwise, you won't be getting anywhere. Or rather, you won't get anywhere. I'm just here for moral support, remember? And at times like this, I really appreciate it the most. So that's all these brothers are willing to reveal this time, is it? They're still hiding something, don't you think? Yeah, I'm sure of it. And not just a minor detail either. It's almost certain because of these two that poor Mr. Winniebank, well, we can't let them get away with it, Runo. I know, but I get the feeling. There's even less evidence at my disposal this time to prove that they did it. We've come so far. Now it's time to finish them off. Well, I do my best. Okay, some evidence that someone else did it. Yeah, there has to have been, and I'm pretty sure you were talking about the Skulkins, but there's no evidence to prove it. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Yeah, what? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you encountered the victim face to face that night. Oh, I get it now. The course of this trial changed completely. It did. What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Windybank? And is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You'd have to blame these two. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked inside. Those are the facts, so pray, what other possible answers to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel? You must now provide an answer. You must now provide answers to the court in respect of two conundrums. Two, my lord. Twice as many chances to be right, I suppose. Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Okay. So, what I'm basing this off of... Are you alright, Reno? I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened. It would change Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court of this plan that the answers to the question posed by his lordship. Okay. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. Here.
Take that!
Defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And answers to the second question. Assume the culprit fired from the location indicated. Where was the victim at the time?
Take that!
They just shot it through the window. The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Van Zykes isn't too impressed. Continue. The Windybank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. There's a window to his door. Looking at the stain on the blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot when he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom. Well, according to the Skulking brothers' earlier testimony, he pulled me a gun on him and then they legged it from the door into the back room. Mr. Windybank ran through the door. We have to assume that the door was open at the time. It was precisely at that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life. Ooh, that the brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. No! Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? No, I don't actually. Please remind me. Moving on to the finding of Scotland Yard's coroner. His report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Ah, of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet, that's kind of bad logic, but whatever. It takes a turning, baby. So if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would have still have entered the body on an upward trajectory. Yeah, if you're running, I get it, but like that's kind of really odd. It's just specific. So the culprit wasn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windybank.
Objection!
You gonna call bullshit on that? I would. I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? Yeah, but, what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there's someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside? Gina?
Take that!
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? From what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tie in the noose around her neck. I incline to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? Oh, wait. Yes, that's a tricky one, that, isn't it? That big notion has no place in this courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course Jeannie would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does? So the Skulkins don't get in. Well, if he was Jeannie in that situation, I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yeah, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Winniebank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at the time, but at some point, Mr. Winniebank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. The intruders, eh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Winniebank fell to the floor where he was just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Winniebank. As soon as the thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life.
Hold it!
But why? I mean, we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov. We ain't. We gotta believe us. I mean, come on. We never shot no one.
Objection!
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would. Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Shones. Yeah, that's a good point. There's only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulking, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Winniebank's murder. Where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They lead you to the dense forest. That's amazing, Bruno. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know, first time ever. Probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they had to give a verdict if not. An admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing? I find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zykes. I find myself the defendant's arguments most persuasive. I dare say. Such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. Ooh. But such blatant, malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than the inexcusable pedophagy here. You're saying a lot of big words there, Van Zykes. But most importantly, what? Your hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly credibly cannot and will not stand. Because you see, it contains a fatal flaw. Does it? A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logical failings? I say Lord Van Zykes might have an idea to explain the bally conjuring trick or whatever it is the troops on the ground. The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. It's gonna be like, there was a window, Pepper Hands. Oh. The bullets. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'll give you that one. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. George, count bullets. Oh dear. He noticed then. Huh? What's everyone talking about? Counsel. Yes, sir. Tell the court how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime. There's 2, but like, come on. Two bullets? Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, on his arrival at the scene. Indeed. Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appeared to have been passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know that there are 2 firearms involved in this incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windybank, and the Skulking brothers' revolver. That evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed, a single bullet for each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yeah, I did. Why, my goodness, I think you'd find that if the single bullet that was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means Windybank not shot by the same gun. Stop. Only 1 bullet. Stop. Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensible, credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Order. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hollowed nectar into the public gallery. Lord Van Zykes. But the court needs to open his eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. What the fuck? What? Despite her young years, she can regrettably no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She is a past riddle of criminal conduct. Oh, please don't. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbroker on the night in question with loathsome intent. That's wrong. As we can see beyond shadow down this print, which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. But we also just proved that's not possible. And if here in my possession, one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is to Mr. McGilda's down to the yard, thank you very much. No, don't give it to him. It's mine, that is mine. I'm sorry, miss. But anything belonging to Mr. McGilda is to be taken as evidence now. Yeah, that music box disc. Mr. McGilda's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windybank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her. And with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I must add. but by brute force and brazen impudence. Good gracious. Okay, now you're lying. Van Zykes, hold on, wait a minute. Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on the account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths of which this girl would not stoop if pushed. No crime she would not commit. The court forgets the fact as its peril. Van Zykes, I'm gonna need you to calm down, please. I see. I think it will be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, counsel. The grim testament to the defendant's character. God, Lord Van Zykes, Inspector Gregson, what? Yes, Inspector. We've had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it would be agreed that this wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zykes at all. I am unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Inspector, I am the prosecutor and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. Oh? Prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this desk as evidence, my lord. Indeed, bailiff. Metal desk used to play mechanical music box. On the reverse side of the notes, it reads Mr. Gilded. Prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and basis of character. You fucking lie. You snitch. You snake. There's nothing more to add. You are a snake, Van Zykes. You're lying to this court. You're not lying, but like you're making conjecture. Because she definitely did not do this out of malicious intent. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decision and rest my case. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all of 5 minutes. Oh dear, it wasn't even 5 minutes, Runo. My lord? I wonder if I might add something at this point. Proceed, Mr. Foreman. I've been stumbling about in a bit of fog up till now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden. The answer's bally obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. Oh no, oh no. Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
Okay, thank you.
Guilty.
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 Yeah, okay. This is bad. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. See, like, that line doesn't work because every time the writers of these games try and say that, everyone gets mad. Like, this happened with Maki Tobai. Literally, Maki was the only one who could have done it with all the evidence, but they're like, guys, no, the game's just dumb. That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. It's like, that is a Sherlock line. You're right. How dare you use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Winniebank. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other juries ready? Daredevil Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Wait. Daredevil Squadron is primed and... Daredevil Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions.